Now, who am I to give you information about the shelter? I am one of the experts on homelessness in Queen Anne's County, since this has been Haven Ministries' primary focus for 10 years. I have also been serving the county for 14 years. First, as an outreach volunteer leading over 25 local outreach programs with Kent Island United Methodist Church, and later with Haven Ministries. I am an active member of Midshore Roundtable on Homelessness, Midshore Community Health Meeting, Emergency Food and Shelter Program, and Suicide Prevention Queen Anne's County Management Board. I am a mother of 2, and both of my children have served at the shelter throughout their lives without incident. I am a United Methodist Church pastor's wife, a Characters Counts coach, co-chair of local outreach at my church, and a mentor to a Trinity Forum Fellow. I am a concerned citizen and one who volunteers within the community, attends county commissioner and other community meetings, and who aligns and works with county and other nonprofit organizations to serve the citizens of Queen Anne's County on behalf of Haven Ministries. 10 years ago, many churches were spending an enormous amount of resources on hotel stays for people in need of shelter. This was a quick fix without a permanent solution and little to no counseling services or case management connected with the room payment. When Haven Ministries formed, we researched housing programs, visited housing programs, and talked to many experts in the area of homelessness and shelter care. We do not receive county funds for any of the Haven Ministries programs. Haven Ministries is not a prison, hospital, mental hospital, or drug rehab program. Haven Ministries is not a foster care program to take care of any unattended children, including the children involved with the immigration issue. Homelessness is not far from many of us who live paycheck to paycheck, or whose savings have been depleted due to emergencies. Many of us would not recognize the homeless in Queen Anne's County because most of them look just like us. The home is in an ideal location as it is nestled within an industrial area at the end of State Street, surrounded by an auto shop with the salvage lots next to it, construction lot, and Department of Transportation lot. It is an ideal location because it is near houses of worship, near access to county ride that guests can use if needed for doctor appointments and other appointments and errands, and some of our clients have their own cars, access to doctors and senior care, access to GED and continuing education programs, close proximity to entry-level and manual jobs such as restaurant work, gas station attendant positions, construction and landscaping companies, and cleaning services. The home is also in close proximity to many volunteers. The home is also an ideal location because it is convenient to the schools and park. Haven Ministries children, and the majority of the transitional housing program guests are women and children, are enrolled in the local Queen Anne's County schools and children's programs. During our time that we have had a transitional housing program, we have had no neighborhood safety complaints. We haven't had neighborhood safety complaints from Mallard Run, Cloverfields, State Street, or surrounding areas. We have had no complaints while we are running this program from people who use the Cross Island Trail or Love Point Park, including children, youth, runners, parents. And we have not had any complaints from any of the Queen Anne's County schools, private or public. Currently, Haven Ministries is comprised of 16 Queen Anne's County churches. There are concerns that we will bus in homeless people from other shelters to fill this new facility. This has not been a practice of Haven Ministries, nor is it a future plan. It has not been in our budget, nor is it in future budgets. The Haven Ministries screening process includes a criminal background check, sex offenders registry check, both of which are rechecked frequently, a breathalyzer check, and drug testing if necessary. We also check photo IDs. Once the clients are admitted into the program, all clients must work constantly with a case manager who creates and monitors an individualized plan of action with every client. What happens if clients come during the check-in time and do not pass the sex offenders registry, criminal background check, breathalyzer check, or drug testing? They cannot stay in our program because these issues are not our areas of expertise. On the table, I have included our application, and I also have it in this folder, and screening forms for the transitional housing program. I just want to show it to you. The board of directors, during board meetings, establish policies, procedures, and programs. We would not accept or apply for grant money that would dictate the Haven Ministries programs. We do not accept state money that makes us take guests from other shelters or areas. When you think of someone homeless, I'm sure the pictures of someone who has drug issues or a grungy person. There is a negative social status associated with homeless people. The truth is, if there so happens to be a grungy homeless person out there, this is the exception and not the norm. I became homeless from a loss of my full-time job, and luckily after spending some nights in the car because I had nowhere to go, I found my way to our Haven Transitional House. I moved to Queen Anne's County in elementary school and raised my family here. My youngest daughter, high school student, was homeless with me. I stayed at the transitional house for 2 years. I followed their program and regained the social status of not being homeless. During my stay, I found a full-time job in accounting while remaining employed at my part-time job in management. I went back to college to complete my AA degree in accounting. All the while, I worked my 2 jobs, went to college, went to church as we always did, attended sports games to watch and support my daughter in her efforts. After losing everything, I had no place to live. Never thought I'd ever be living in a homeless shelter. The first night at the shelter, it took 45 minutes to warm up. The staff and volunteers did their best to make me comfortable. After entering into the shelter, I was encouraged to look for a second job when I was not working. The case manager at the shelter put me in touch with a caseworker with a VA program that would assist me in finding affordable housing and a better medical plan through the VA. The shelter case manager worked with all of us to set up goals and a plan of action to follow. My days were filled gathering and organizing all the paperwork needed for the VA program. At the end of my stay at the shelter, I found a room to rent. I'm still working on getting some help from the VA program. I probably would not have made it if not for the shelter. Praise God for our Haven Homeless Shelter.
And the only thing that I could speak of initially was the fact that in the 24 years that I've been an appraiser and a tax assessor, I had never seen any evidence that any supportive housing, be that the housing of deaf independent living or channel marker, head injury homes, that type of thing, had ever had any adverse impact on values. I've never had to make adjustment because a property was located near that or that type of thing, not in the capacity as a tax assessor or as a private appraiser.
And I promise you that if you put a homeless shelter in our residential community, we are going to lose value in our homes because within a half-mile radius of that site, the homes average between $300,000 to $450,000. Not too many people are going to want to spend that kind of money to live a stone's throw from a homeless shelter. I'm sorry, we just have not gotten to the place and time where we are comfortable. You know, we want to say, oh yes, we want to help the homeless, but only because it's politically incorrect to tell the truth, which is we're scared. Thank you.
Statistics do not indicate that this sort of facility normally poses much threat.
You may assume most who are homeless live in cities. However, this isn't the case as well. 40% are in rural areas or small cities such as Queen Anne's County. This is from HUD. This means thousands are in need of temporary assistance but are not able to come into shelter, or jurisdictions can't help them because of limited resources. And as Kathy explained, many people come to her office in need for help, and there's not enough that can be done. Imagine what it feels like to tell someone, I'm sorry, I don't have anything for you, and watch them walk out the door with a little one. Queen Anne's County has seen an 18% population increase since 2000. So if you had homeless people in 2000, you're going to have more of them now. And although you all are doing very well in Queen Anne's County financially, homelessness still does exist here. Queen Anne's County has 4.8% unemployment rate. Cost of living here is 23% higher. It's a beautiful place to live. 23% higher than the national average, and housing costs are 68% higher than the national average. Nationally, in 2013, there were over 600,000 homeless people across the nation. About 10,000 of those are living in the state of Maryland. Food stamps have been cut, the Farm Bill has been cut, many federal plans and programs that offer assistance are being cut. Transitional housing, such as this shelter and others, provide a stable environment for those of us who have experienced a significant life event to get back on our feet and get back into mainstream society, which is what anyone who is homeless or has risk of being homeless wants.
And as a matter of fact, there are no full-time year-round shelters in the county, so my staff have to struggle with what to do with people who walk in. 3 nights in a motel does not cover your homeless situation, because 3 days is up really fast, and we only have enough money to do that one time in a 12-month period for that family. That's what our rules have to be, to make the money stretch. So they decided, the staff themselves,
regardless of what we read in the paper about crime near shelters, regardless of strict admission policies, this is about the peace of mind of parents, people whose God-given instinct is to protect their children. If my wife, Julie, who's deeply invested in the people of this island, didn't know, well, I'll just say I trust her over any legal notice, and with apologies, any county commissioner, I trust my wife over you.
Did you know that many of you received information about the building plan and Haven Ministries from a person or group of people who have never volunteered at any of our 4 programs? Did you know that many of you received information about the building plans and Haven Ministries from a person or group of people that have never seen any of our programs?
I went to the homeless shelter, the winter shelter, and I was afraid. I brought my 5-year-old and 7-year-old. I said, is it safe, for me to bring them to serve meals? And I was afraid because of the unknown, because you don't know. That night, we were very fortunate. There was nobody that needed our services. So we sat down with the ministry staff and we ate together and broke bread together. And I got to hear about I asked all these questions that everybody has been asking and have concerns. And I said, what do you do? What are your rules? Do they have to, where are they transported to? I asked these questions. And also, I got to hear from the ministry staff about emergency phone calls at 1, 2, 3 in the morning. They wake up and have to go, find and put somebody somewhere. They're really doing a great service in our county, and I don't want to diminish everybody's fears that they have with being in their community. They're legitimate. I'm glad everybody's had the chance to express them. But I think that this is a service that needs to be done, and these are people that need to be served by our community.
This is needed in the community now, not 5 years from now, not another group of studies, not looking at somewhere else to go, because wherever it goes, you're going to have people who are fearful.
Homeless does not equal criminal. Stop judging a book by its cover. There are homeless students in the Queen Anne's County public school system. Are they unworthy of help? Are they to blame because they are homeless? I don't think so. Instead of discriminating, be compassionate, volunteer, get involved, and see for yourself. Anyone can become homeless. You would want resources available for you and your loved ones.
We're scared. After that last economic downturn, that could have been any one of us in that homeless shelter, including myself.
I implore anyone who is uncomfortable with the idea of the State Street location to please volunteer and to experience firsthand the level of care and commitment to safety with which our Haven meticulously serves the community. Please put this in my backyard.
When I think of mental illness and schools, I think of things like Sandy Hook, don't you? Columbine. These people that did these terrible crimes were mentally ill and slipped through the cracks.
These people are screened. The people you're concerned about will never get in through the door. I want to give personal testament to the fact that this would be run correctly.
You have never seen a better system of security. Krista Pettit, Mrs. Westcott there, I know what they did. They ran a tight ship.
Drug addicts, child molesters, rapists, they're all excluded. They won't get in there.
The number one demographic, the largest population of people in homeless shelters in Maryland is drug abusers. Number two is the mentally ill, and number three is the chronically homeless. I think by placing the homeless shelter in the proposed location, we're actually not only endangering the children that live in the neighborhoods surrounding that area, but all the children from Penn Island that are bused into those schools. All the children that play recreational sports in the park, and all the kids that go to Friday night football at Penn Island High School. It's not just a local problem. All of our kids play and live in that area.
Here are some facts. According to the National Coalition for Homeless, 38% of homeless people are dependent on alcohol and 26% abuse other drugs. Further, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration indicates that 49% of the homeless population has a criminal record and 26 have a severe mental health disorder.
When you see national numbers, you think, oh, that's all here. No, that's not here. You have not looked locally. Check it out locally. Go to all your shelters around here. Look what kind of homeless people are here.
I've been hearing a lot of fear tonight, and it's unfounded. And they're going national statistics for the nation in Anne Arundel County. And I don't care about statistic for Anne Arundel County because they're 100 times bigger than we are. And their problem's 100 times more.
And any concerns we have there, I can sincerely say there have never been any issues regarding safety. Anything that would have come up was dealt with directly and immediately through the staff, and obviously on occasion needing to call somebody to come in.
Before I volunteered, I never thought much about what is homeless. It was just an entity that was out there that somebody else took care of. Well, boy, were my eyes opened. My duties at the shelter consisted of preparing meals. You take your meal, you sit down with a group and you eat it, and you've never enjoyed a meal more because you've never been more appreciated for what you've done. Then you sit there for the evening. You make new friends, you learn new games. And you find out that these are real people. They have families that they love. They have ambitions. But yet they don't have the opportunities I have and my family have. I've stayed with them on Christmas Day. It never dawned on me that you're homeless on Christmas, any other day of the year. And they wish me a Merry Christmas. I wish that my children, as they were growing up, had the opportunity to see homelessness the way I have. And I think it would be wonderful for the children of Ken Island to ride the bike trail with the homeless children. I have lived in this area for 38 years. I've taken advantage of a lot of the facilities. I never felt threatened. We didn't always have the police protection we have now. Someone mentioned that there have been 3-4 calls to the sheriff by the shelter. I would like to hear how many calls you've had to Cloverfield for drug abuse, for mental illness, for theft. And that was long before there was any planned homeless shelter. Thank you.
You don't have to go to Africa to be a missionary. You don't have to go to Asia or miles to be a missionary. You can do it in Stevensville.
And I can honestly say I have never once felt threatened or afraid of the homeless guests at our shelter. I am responsible for scheduling meal providers and shift volunteers. I have youth groups, Sunday school classes, and families with children that provide meals and interact with our guests. I have women who do 6 p.m. to midnight shifts with the guests. I have had my daughter, my sons, my sister, my friends, the girls' 8th grade confirmation class that I taught at St. Christopher's, and so many other volunteers at the shelter with absolutely no fear for their safety at any time.
And this location is not a threat to anybody. It's a way to help people up and out, and it's a way to be a part of it. And I think we've demonstrated that tonight. We're not a threat. We have made sure that we have made a safe program, and I'm so proud to be part of that ministry.
But it's fear of the criminals, the drug addicts, the derelicts. But we've already explained to you that this is not our policy. And one of the things that impressed me the most with Haven Ministries when I came on board, because I didn't expect what to find, except maybe a loose organization of volunteers. Not at all. I was so impressed with the rules, regulations, and policies and bylaws that exist in Haven Ministries. And they're open for all of you to see. No one's lying here, no one's misleading here. I'm really sorry if you weren't attuned to all the newspaper ads and everything that was presented to you, because I think there was plenty of opportunity to oppose this from what I've seen. Now, I'm not in your shoes, so I understand. But anyway, the way I see it, this seems like the right place at the right time and the right thing to do for this community.
What they're doing is phenomenal, and it just makes Queen Anne's County look that much better, that we're stepping up to the plate and serving the eastern shore, not the western shore. We're serving our own.
It's about every one of us, and what I love about this community is we do take care of our own. You know, from the guy who's been a fisherman all through his life, and now is concerned about the bay. You know, we take care of our own, and we can do it, and we've done it very well for the last 9 years.
Or at least as a local community, because that's who you're hearing from, the local people to the shelter. I feel like we're getting bullied, and I feel like we've been strategically outplayed.
Sir, thank you.
Well, Krista went over by 20 minutes, but I just have one thing to say.
Krista didn't have time limit. Please, you're done. Sit down. Please.
All the notification that has been made, I got through all this and started this whole thing with one email.
I implore anyone who is uncomfortable with the idea of the State Street location to please volunteer and to experience firsthand the level of care and commitment to safety with which our Haven meticulously serves the community.
I wonder how many of us will take a homeless person home tonight. If we're not, then I guess there's going to be some homeless people that need a place to stay.
When the opposition to the shelter first started, I was incredulous. I didn't understand it at all. Then some very specific things happened, and I felt threatened. I felt fear from my fellows at Haven Ministry, and I went into full protective mode. I began looking suspiciously at every possible threat to the ministry and or my friends. I became angry and frustrated and misunderstood and fearful. And I've heard that from other people here, so I kind of know how you felt. Something that I loved was being attacked, but it really wasn't. The opposition to the shelter is not a threat. It was the fear. It was the fear that people feel when they don't know. And it was the fear of suspicion and paranoia. And I think I would just ask everybody to step away from the fear, step away from the paranoia, step into empathy, step into love and understanding.
Part of what we are here to do is to lend a helping hand to those who need assistance. And when we're raising our kids, it's important that they understand that helping a neighbor, helping out other people who are less fortunate is part of who we are as a community and as a neighborhood.
Every one of us here can be out of a job and can't pay your rent or don't pay the mortgage.
This is an in my backyard issue. Nobody wants it in my backyard. I want a $2 million home in my backyard because that's what everybody wants with the Ferrari driving up and down the driveway. But we don't always get that. There's rules that have been set up with the Haven Ministry, very strict rules, The people that I've talked about that live in your home and in your neighborhood and in your community already would never be served by the Haven Ministries or the homeless shelter because the rules prohibit them from being served. Instead, they stay in our community and pay their rent and pay their mortgages, and they're still on the sex offenders registry, and they're still selling drugs. The criminal element is already in our neighborhoods. It's in our communities. It's on Bennett Point Road. It's in Prospect Bay. It's in Cloverfield. It's in downtown Graysonville. I know, I see the sheriffs going up and down the road all the time.
I see more problems with the kids in Cloverfields because they do whatever they want. And to be honest with you, and it's not the homeless kids. It's the kids with, money. To be honest with you. And it's the same thing when I grew up in Howard County, and us that grew up in Elkridge, we went over to play with the ones in Columbia because, they had money and they could do all kinds of things. And it's the same thing. But it's on how you raise your kids,
I wonder about the location next to the trail, the schools, the park, that everybody uses. Not my backyard, everybody's backyard. 1,000 children at those 2 elementary schools every day.
Try going without a home for 6 months. No job. No way to get any food. No way to support your family. Think how demeaning that is to a person. How degrading you feel. How down you get. It really hurts deep down. And to those people that are trying, and that for unforeseen circumstances, like a stroke, like a house burning down, there's nothing you can do to help that. These people didn't plan for this.
Our programs have never been used for people to hang out 24/7, 365 days per year and do nothing.
Actually, it's not enabled people to become dependent. It's given them the opportunity to make the next step, which any human being needs to make by the grace of God through the lives of people who care. It's enlarged our compassion as a church. It's made us more real as a church. And in my life together, it's helped me to be a better pastor.
If you've never volunteered at the shelter, you don't really have that sense of what it's like. That these people are not criminals. They're just like you and me. So if you could come and volunteer sometime to make a meal or to work at the shelter, I think you would feel differently about it. You wouldn't look at them as different people.
It's more than a job, it's a calling. They have a calling to do what they do.
I know there's a lot of fear, and I know we get a lot of statistics about addicts and alcoholics and criminals who are homeless and use the homeless facilities. I'm hoping that what Krista did today is at least enlighten some of you as to the measures that they take to make sure that this facility is a safe facility. It's not for everybody. Unfortunately, there are people in our community who are alcoholics, who are drug addicts, and they don't have access to the facilities at Haven Ministries. These are people who have fallen on bad times, but for the grace of God, and that's their mission.
We've heard fear is the #1 topic, and I believe it's fear of the unknown. I will say that I heard the word children come up at least 30 times. And I asked 2 weeks ago in an email, I asked, does anybody have any statistics where children were harmed by anybody from a homeless or transitional shelter? I got no responses.
I can tell you there was no conspiracy, there was no hidden agenda, there was no secret meetings to say, let's stick it to Stevensville residents to put a homeless shelter there. We didn't have discussions on that. We always knew that this homeless shelter was going there, and we thought everybody else knew. We weren't out there to hide anything from anybody. And I can bet my reputation on that.
There's a lot of fear about this, a lot of fear in the neighborhood, and that fear really is natural. It's not something that should be sneered at or anything else. What do we do about that fear? Is there anything we can do about it, the fear? I think it's sort of illustrated by the fact it is a worry that the county tried to put out information, that the Haven tried to put out information, and it wasn't absorbed. But one flyer, as the person said in there, created all sorts of response, and it's unfortunate the flyer was built to play on fear. It was unfortunate that it was had a lot of misinformation or innuendos in there, but it certainly did stir up a tremendous response, and we need to be thinking about that. What can we do better? I would tell you that I just got back from MACO, the Maryland Association of Counties, again, exchanging information with people in other counties. I think Queen Anne's County does a better job of trying to be open and transparent in what it's doing than anybody I talk to.
I just couldn't be any happier to have it in my neighborhood.
Please put this in my backyard.